Old Farmer Giles lived in a small cottage nestled beside a whispering willow tree. His face, etched with the lines of sun and worry, held a kind smile that rarely reached his tired eyes. For 3 years, the rains had failed. His once lush fields were now cracked earth, his crops withered and brown. His animals, once plump and healthy, were thin and listless. Hope, a fragile bird, had flown far from his heart. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Giles sat on his porch, staring at his barren land. A single tear traced a path through the dust on his cheek. "God," he whispered, his voice hoarse, "I don't understand. I've worked so hard, prayed so much." Why? His granddaughter, Lily, a bright-eyed girl of 7 with hair like spun gold, climbed onto his lap. She placed her small hand on his weathered one. "Grandpa," she said, her voice soft as the evening breeze, "remember the story of the thirsty bird?" Giles managed a weak smile. Lily loved stories, and he often told her tales of brave knights and magical creatures. He nodded, encouraging her to continue. "The bird," Lily said, "was so thirsty it almost gave up, but then it saw a tiny drop of water at the bottom of a deep well. It kept trying, even though it was hard, and finally it got the water." Giles looked at Lily, her innocent faith a stark contrast to his despair. He remembered the story. Of course, it was a story about perseverance, about never giving up. But right now, it felt like a cruel joke. His well was dry, his land barren. There was no water, no hope. That night, Giles couldn't sleep. He tossed and turned, the image of Lily's hopeful face flickering in his mind. He thought of his animals, their gaunt bodies a constant reminder of his failure. He thought of his debt, mounting higher with each passing day. He felt utterly alone, abandoned by both nature and fortune. The next morning, as the sun rose, casting a pale light over the desolate landscape, Giles felt a strange stirring within him. It wasn't hope, not yet, but a flicker of something else, a quiet determination. He remembered Lily's words, the thirsty bird's perseverance. He might not understand God's plan, but he wouldn't give up. He started small. He carefully collected every drop of morning dew, using it to water his few remaining seedlings. He mended the fences, strengthening them against the harsh winds. He spoke softly to his animals, offering them what little food he had left. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The sun beat down relentlessly. The earth remained stubbornly dry. But Giles persisted. He planted new seeds, even though a part of him doubted they would ever sprout. He prayed not for a miracle, but for the strength to keep going. One evening, as he sat on his porch, watching the sunset, he heard a distant rumble. He looked up and saw dark clouds gathering on the horizon. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of rain, and then it began. The rain fell gently at first, then poured down in a torrent. Giles stood there, his face raised to the sky, tears streaming down his cheeks, but this time they were tears of joy. The rain soaked the parched earth, reviving the withered plants. His animals drank deeply, their eyes regaining their luster. The rain lasted for days, replenishing the land, filling his well to overflowing. His crops flourished, his animals thrived. His debt was still there, but it no longer felt insurmountable. He had faced his despair, and he had persevered. That night, as Lily slept soundly in her bed, Giles sat on his porch, watching the stars twinkle in the clear night sky. He understood now. God's plan wasn't a sudden miracle, but a test of faith, a lesson in perseverance. He hadn't received a quick fix, but he had learned the value of unwavering hope, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. And in that understanding, he found a peace deeper than any rain could bring. He had learned that even when hope seems lost, God's plan, though sometimes hidden, is always there, waiting to be revealed in its own time.